What's going on, everybody? I didn't do a trade review yesterday because I streamed my trades all day. I took off of work, and there was just so many trades to go over that I found it hard to. I basically just traded for like 8 hours. Then I was gonna have to then immediately do what would be a 2-hour review, possibly, of the same trades I just took. So I just didn't have the motivation yesterday. But today it is Friday, June 11th, and I traded just a little bit today. I did go to work. Today was my final day of work at Chuck E. Cheese. So from this moment forward, I'm not sure how we're going to handle trade reviews. I might just upload my streams, but those are less organized. Obviously, they take a bit longer since there's a lot of, here we just discuss what moves we took, so it's very consolidated and quick. So yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously I enjoy doing them, but it is sometimes difficult to go back over them when I can just turn on my stream and watch the past broadcast and do my review that way without having to be going over all these trades. I can just watch and observe. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm terrified, but this is the first step in it's a good opportunity for me. If it doesn't work out, I have things to fall back on. So, because I have those backups and all that kind of stuff, I feel like this is a good chance to make the most of it and really, do what I've been wanting to do for a long time. So we will see how it goes. I'm excited, nervous, and all that good stuff. But for now, we're just going to focus on what took place today. So my first trade of the day was actually a loser, and it was on Gene right here. So I actually find that the earlier I trade, the less success I have. Generally, my highest win rate is about 11-1, which is just interesting. Just something I've noticed from my, trade review statistics and stuff like that. But, anyways, Gene at 848. So, yeah, we saw this beautiful reversal action right here. I remember this. So in this candle right here, excuse me, in this candle right here, I assessed a zone. Excuse me, I just took NyQuil, so our time is limited. The skunk's running around underneath my feet right now. It's chaos over here. Anyways, so I had this trend drawn. Assuming, so here's actually a really good example of why the 10-minute chart is so strong. You look at this 2, you look at this 5, and you think, yeah, the trend, why? There's no way there's a trend right there. Look at all this price action you're chopping in half. Same thing with the 5, right? But you come look at the 10, and that tells you a different story, right? That tells you that because this long wick was so closed up, you can actually pretend that this wick wasn't even here, right? If you just treated it as this candle body right here, would you assess it differently than if you saw this in the mix? But this was such a temporary anomaly of a situation that I don't base my assessments off of it. So what do? I base my assessment off of this trend. It looks like a nice ascending triangle right here when you look at the 10-minute chart. But you come and look at these and you don't get that same information, which is why it's absolutely crucial, I think, to have multiple time frames up. And sometimes even the 5 isn't good enough, in my opinion. Anyhow, one of my biggest things is I don't like to take zones that are coming up and selling off. Like see how it comes up like this? So generally speaking, let's look at a different trade I took today. Let's look at like Yooni is a good one. Oops. So here's a trade I took earlier, right? So you see right here, boom, huge up. I'm catching the pullback down. Now, as you come look at Gene, it had already sold off. It was coming up to pull back down. It's a lot harder. The probability is a lot less when you're having to catch a move that's reversed and is setting its highs, because when it goes straight up from the open and starts to establish highs, that there's a lot of momentum and volume pushing it upwards. But if you've already seen a stock tank to $30 and go up to $60, you know, are you more confident that it's going to come back down to meet in the middle of that range, or are you more confident that it's just going to continue to skyrocket, you know, 300% or whatever? In my mind, I'm more likely to believe the fact that, like, if it sets some pretty significant lows, that the highs are probably you know, it's going to come down to meet in the middle right there. That's a mean reversion idea. So I generally find that these zones, after they've established some pretty low lows, come up to establish a high, I find that they are less likely to follow through. This actually, if you take into consideration pre-market levels, this would be a really good, interesting short position. I don't know. That wick is kind of interesting. High 515, high 515. Yeah, wow, interesting. So you're talking about to the cent resistance rejection. Anyways, the move I took was in the zone. And the reason I say all that is because I even said in chat here, 4.9 to 4.79 Gene, low probability, but good risk to reward. Now, what was the risk to reward I was speaking about? Well, the fact that our stop loss can be very easily defined right here below this trend line. Yeah. So the bottom of our zone was 4.79. Well, the trend line was at 4.74. You could have given yourself 5, 10. I think I ended up giving myself 5 cents or something like that. Right below the trend line, right? And the reason I love trends like this, and trends as a, you know, as an idea, trends are what I do, is because, you know, once you take an entry, time becomes a factor as well, right? And that's not necessarily true for breakouts or reversals or any other strategy. Well, with trends, you have an edge in the sense of time, right? So as every new candle appears on this chart, God, this is such a mess. As every new candle appears on this chart, right, you have the trend gets tighter and tighter. If it is going to truly follow this trend, then it can't come down below the trend, right? Well, as the time goes on and every new candle is established, that low of trend is actually becomes higher. So let's say that you enter a position right here and it goes up and it's kind of, you know, battling in this area. Well, the longer it takes to do that, the higher up the support level of that trend gets, and it can either bounce off support or come below it, at which point the longer it takes, the safer you are. Because let's say that it ends up testing here and rejecting. Well, you added way down here back, you know, back at this time period. So the fact of the reason I love trends so much, or why, you know, it's one of the things I'm more comfortable with, is because time is kind of a part of the strategy, and a lot of strategies don't really work that way. But anyways, the longer the play goes out, the better stop loss and strength of entry you will have, because eventually, you know, the trend can come up so high that, you know, the support of the trend line is above where your entry was. You know, so anyways, I did set my zone here. It's actually kind of a wide zone in hindsight. It was only 11 cents, but you look at this range here. The good thing is, though, again, I had a 5 cent stop loss, 7 cent stop loss, I think, something like that. And the upside was you were looking at 20 cents. So what is it, like a 5 to 1, 4 to 1? That's you know, really good risk to reward. And it was the first trade of the day. You know, we were talking about VWAP and the 20 SMA being incorporated into the zone, as well as trendline support. It had shown great strength on a reversal, so, you know, it could have been the sell-off was an anomaly and it's correcting, and it could establish a trend going upwards. So I don't dislike the play. I established in chat that, you know, I think this is lower probability just based on the way that it's you know, it's set the significant low before coming up. But yeah, all in all, I don't think, you know, I'm not upset with that trade at all. I think that was an all right plan. We did end up getting stopped out, small loss. The next one I ended up taking was Plug. I believe that Pat actually messaged me on Discord and was like, "Yo, Plug," because he likes Plug a lot, and I like EVs as a whole. So yeah, right here I believe the move was. I said Plug 3205 to 31.9. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 3205, 3196. Let's see what these zones are based off of, shall we? As you can see, so technically 3204 should have been the zone, but it's okay. That's why you give yourself a zone, right? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to nail where price is going to come to perfectly in order to enter. You give yourself some room to add. That way, if the move only comes, down here and not all the way to where you expect the bottom to be, you're still in the move for some shares. If it does come all the way through your zone, you get a full position size with a good cost average, as long as you do your bids correctly. So, anyways, this is how I established this. This is how I established that those two lines: pre-market levels, pre-market levels. There you go. It's really that easy. Okay, so right over here is where the zone ended up coming to fill. My stop loss is going to be down here, 31.86. You're risking 10 cents. My profit target was going to be right here, 31.17. You're looking for about a 20-cent move. And price came down, filled me in full. Came a little bit out, peaked a little bit out, 5 cents or so, 4 cents or so. And then quickly on the next candle went up. Now, you actually could have taken this zone a second time. I didn't because I was watching NOVN, I believe it was at the time. I was watching NOVN, so I didn't take it a second time. But you absolutely could have for an even better move. You wouldn't came down 1 or 2 cents less, but it went up 5 cents more, 6 cents more, something like that. So you could have actually taken the zone twice for 2 beautiful 20-cent scalps. You come look at the 5 and this candle right here. I'm actually not crazy about these. These are candles of indecision in my opinion. But I did like the fact that VWAP in the 20 was working on the 2 over here. I felt good about my stop. Plug was ripping. It also helps that I had the electric vehicle sector pulled up on my left monitor. So I was seeing that Tesla, that NIO, that XPEV, that all of them had strength at the time as well. So that gave me a little bit more confidence that, if it did bounce, the odds were likely it would bounce up instead of down. And again, we're only shooting for 20 cents on this move with a 10-cent downside. So you got a 2-to-1 for a very quick scalp, and you actually could have taken 2. I only took 1, and between that loss on Gene and this one on Plug, I was already green on the day. So, Novin. This actually ended up being a monster move. I didn't even get filled in full, unfortunately, but it ended up being a monster move. So at 9 a.m. exactly, so that would be 10 a.m. on the chart. So right here in this candle, this indecision candle, that's actually pretty bearish. Yeah, this right here, I said 1645, 1596. So right about there, 1596. So as you can see, came down to fill 2 of 5 bids. And then it went. And it went for 1625. I think my cost average ended up being about 1631. But it went all the way. I scaled some at 17. And then I scaled some up here, 1730. And then I took the last of my profit at 1758. So you ended up getting over a $1.20 move on this one. And it happened so fast from right here. Bounces off VWAP, bounces off the 20. You come look at the 5, and you got a tweezer bottom. This is a true reversal setup right here. The wick to the VWAP. You come over to the 10, you got the same situation. Reversal setup. This is actually flag pattern, little pennant looking shape. Respecting VWAP, pushes up to a high day. I obviously didn't hold it for high day. I just, held it for here. But, I mean, you don't have to scalp. Like, if you utilize my entries as a way for you to get better entries, then by all means. If you have a longer-term strategy that you use, or you take starter size and you add, or what, I mean, it's okay. My method of finding entries is not unique to like you don't have to implement the rest of my strategy in order to benefit from my entry strategy. So I do know some people that take my entries or use, a similar method to how I find my entries to implement them into their own personal, longer or shorter term strategies. So in this case, you could have done that as well. I mean, because let's say that you scaled half at the, I don't know. Let's say you were holding for high a day and you're like, I'm not going to sell for anything but high a day. Well, you could have, excuse me. Oh, NyQuil's hitting. You could have taken a high day right here. You could have scaled out for that new rush. I mean, from the entry to the top, that's over $2. So within, if you were willing to wait 15 minutes and hold your position, you made $2 on that move. No, I only ended up making about $1.20, I think, between all my scale outs. I think it was 80 cents, $1, $1.20, something like that. But that's an incredible move. I was my day went from okay to damn really quickly. So that was awesome. Let's see, 917. So 917 right here actually. I said this range. I said 1683 to 1658. So I was actually discussing this in chat. I was ready to take this zone a second time on my stream. So 16, what did I say, 58. So this is where my zone was now. On this move. And you can see that we came 7 cents from being filled, at least on one bid. So what I ended up doing on stream there is I ended up saying, okay, well, what could we have done to capture that move? What could we have done to been like right here, right? How do we capture that move? That was obviously the zone. I could have had a little bit more faith in the 20 SMA. The 5 is not really telling me a whole lot. But how could we have drawn that zone, right? Well, we could have drawn it off of this candle body. The bottom is a little bit trickier. We could have perhaps had a body down here at this level. We could have we could have we could have had a zone down here, right? So that it captures fucking magnet. We could have had a zone right here, right? And then look, we would have at least gotten filled a little bit on that play there. So yeah, there was better zones to assess there. The one that I assessed was just not good. I ended up missing that secondary move for what ended up being another, $1.50 or so. But that's okay. That's okay. I'd already taken a great move. Real beautiful interaction with the 20. You can see here. Came down, respected 20. Came down, respected 20. High day. Volume starts to taper. First break of the 20 sends it downwards for the rest of the day. Real pretty on that one. I enjoyed that. I was also looking at the trend, which would have looked a little bit like this. So I was trying to base my support off of trend line support. It is what it is. We ended up missing that secondary bounce, but that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, we ended up missing this bounce right here. We were a little under. So be it. So Fubo, I ended up not taking. Somebody asked me about Fubo right before I left. See, did it end up getting filled? Did not end up getting filled. Somebody in chat on my stream said, hey, if you were looking at Fubo, what would you look? And I made this zone when it was right over here on this candle. I said this zone. Obviously, it ended up not getting filled, so let's take a look. Oh, we could have had actually. We could have taken 30, the whole dollar. Pretty big dollar amount as well. And we could have taken Oh no, that is that candle. So that wouldn't have been there to formulate that hypothesis on. I mean, we could have taken something like that, talking about quite a big zone. Yeah, I mean, without utilizing the 2, doesn't look like there was a way for us to perfectly nail that level there. So it is what it is. We tried our best. We just didn't get filled. So APTX was next, and it actually ended up being a loser. So APTX, I was watching this trend line right here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, my zone ended up being 434 to 423. 434. Oops. 423. So my zone ended up being great, right? It ended up being a good zone. But, you know, it's just price came down fast. Even without like crazy impressive volume or crazy impressive without any like crazy impressive action, we had this move come against us. So this is actually where, let me open it up, the picture that I posted in Discord to show you guys. My stop was at 416, which would have been right here. So this is what we were looking at, right? Good looking trend. You know, I was hoping that price would kind of come down, and by the time that, you know, again, explaining how time works itself into trends, I was hoping that it would take a little bit to take place, and then by the time it landed, it would be landing right around this area. Now, unfortunately, it came down a bit faster than that. It did end up, you know, filling me, crashing, immediately stopping me out, which is okay. It's okay. You know, we take those. I actually, you know, don't really dislike anything about this trade. We had VWAP to work with. We had trendline support to work with. You look at the 5 and the 10, and you know, they're looking good. In hindsight, maybe this, well, you know, by the time this 10-minute and 5-minute candle formed, you know, that's incorporating all this action. So, you know, I mean, there was no big red flags at that point. Volume wasn't, you know, bigger than the buying volume. So yeah, it was just the ticker we got stopped out on, unfortunately, and it ended up selling off on the day. So that was unfortunate for anybody else who tried to catch the you know, the bounce of the double bottom or what have you. Yeah, right there would have been good, but it would have netted you nothing as well. So unfortunate. It was excuse me, it was a good ticker to take bounces off of in this area, maybe even this area, but I just got to it a little too late. Okay, so UONE, this ended up being the big one for me today, man. This shit was actually a little crazy. 2138, 2078. Whatever. Good enough. To 2138. So yeah, this is the move I was looking for. I saw this insane I saw this insane rally here, right? And if you draw a trend line, it's fucking like that, right? I mean, this is a huge eruption. Look at the 10-minute chart. Look how extended it is. Look how stretched it is. And now, you know, if you've not heard my rants about sharp trends, this is a perfect example. I said, okay, well, it'll only take a single candle of selling volume to break this trend line, because it's so tight that there's no time for this trend line to kind of relax and not be so steep. But in fact, as it continues to climb and climb and climb, it just steepens and steepens. So, you know, being up this crazy amount on a super tight trend with no pullbacks, no rest, I said, okay, this is going to sell off, and it's going to sell off pretty hardy. So what should I do? I ended up coming back here to where this, you know, on the 5-minute chart, this is where I see the most candles of consolidation. That's not actually the bottom like down here. Having it pulled back all the way down here, I think we would have been in a little too low. So I found a place kind of in the area where I saw some, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles of consolidation for the eruption up, and assess this zone, right? I figured, okay, well, that gives me VWAP as well. That gives me, reasonable profit targets at 22, 22.39, and 23.07. So those are my profit targets. I believe my stop is right here, 2035. Yep. So we actually could have taken this zone twice, but 2078 was the bottom of my zone, and this candle right here came to exactly 2078. Now keep in mind, I predicted this zone 30 minutes ahead of time. I said in chat, waiting for UONE to sell off and come to here. And that was, obviously when the chart looked like that. So up here. And it did just that, my friends. It reversed. It came back down. It bounced off of VWAP. Money. Bounced off of VWAP. Money. You could have taken it for a 20. I ended up scaling out some here at 22 and then the rest at 22.4. So you're talking about a 60 cent move. 70 cent move by the end of everything. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's a really, really great trade, especially considering the way that it happened. It literally filled me to the cent, perfect, as if it knew, and then it went. So that trade ended up being a big-ass trade. Ended up being a big-ass trade on the day. I was really proud of that one. And then my last trade was actually CCL. I called this one in Discord. I didn't draw too much attention to it because I was mainly doing options. And options are a little dicey when I'm scalping them because they happen very, very quickly, even more quickly than these plays do. So I don't really have as much time to talk or type out or whatever into Discord. But I said I was going to load up with $30 calls for June 18th expiration, and I was going to just scalp premiums as they popped. So I charted this zone out. I'll show you what it looked like. When I charted this zone out, it was obviously much earlier on, 29.98. It had just established its new high of day, and I predicted this zone that it would come back to, and it did. I was off by, oh no, that's to the cent. So yeah, to the cent, it came down. That's 2 to the cents in a day. Came and filled me in full. I'd loaded up on call options. It came up here, I sold, right? I sold for, I think, 5 cents a contract, something like that. 6 cents maybe. And then it came back down again, right? Oh, excuse me. Right out of time. It came back down again. I loaded back up on calls once more. My stop loss is down here. If it broke out of my zone, I would start to scale out of my options, expecting to be out of them completely by the time it reached this area. And at any point down there, I feel like it's going to reverse. I can then buy those options back. There's no reason to hold through the pain on options, in my opinion. But quickly, it broke out again. Once it broke these levels, I knew that, okay, she's going to go. And she did. She ended up taking us to a new high a day. I scaled out. I mean, these were only like 30 cent options, and I ended up selling them for like 43 or something. So to take 13 cents on a 30 cent option is fucking money, dude. That is so good. That is so great. So I was very, very stoked with that one. I flexed because people were not putting respect on my name in Discord, and I think, yep, that was it for me for trading today. I ended up doing some small options on like Tesla and stuff like that I tweeted out, but I wasn't really discussing them or into. I was doing 1 or 2 contracts at a time, just small stuff while I was at work. I had a lot to do today to kind of get the place set up because they're about to be without somebody who does what I do, so they're gonna be in real trouble. So I tried to, at least prep them, for the most I could to have them prepared for that. So I didn't have a whole lot of time in the afternoon to trade, and I wasn't wild about the things I was seeing, anyways. So yeah, that was gonna be it for me today. I didn't make it to after hours. Again, I was at work, but starting Monday, I will be home from now on. So please, if you guys want to Chat and pre-market. If you want to watch Twitch, we do live trades. I call all my zones out there. I call more zones on my Twitch than I do in Discord, simply because it's easier for me to say it into my microphone than it is for me to look and type it. We discuss why I'm making my zones where. People come in and suggest zones on different tickers, suggest tickers to look at, ask questions. It's just a ton of fun. And now I'm unemployed, so if you guys want to go over there and drop a Prime sub, it's free if you have Amazon. Maybe at the very least, if trading doesn't go my way, we can pay rent on Twitch subs. But in all seriousness, it's been an absolute blast to have all of you guys that are there joining me. It really does mean a lot to have kind of a community within a community to discuss things with. It's a ton of fun. So I hope you all have a great rest of your night. I will see you on Monday. Please enjoy your weekend. Feel free to study up, do what you need to do. If you guys have any questions for me or want me to look at stuff, I'm always happy to do that when I have the time. And if I don't, I'll get back to you. I promise I'm not ignoring any of you. I just find it easier than to say, hey, I don't have the time right now, let me get back to you. So I'll just answer when I have the time. I will get to it, though. I don't ever end the day with unread Discord or Twitter messages. Unless it goes to requests. If it does, message me on Discord. It's way easier to get a hold of me. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Study up, but still enjoy yourselves. It's the weekend. Take it to have a good time. Relax. I hope everybody had a great week, and I hope that tomorrow is an even better one. I will see you then. Be well, guys.